It's almost!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So, a good performance from both teams here.
Okay, I'm going to do a small intro and then I'll start off.
Answer to your question is no, I didn't think so. There's so many things that go along with it. The first thing that we are judged on is the way that we look.
Oh my god.
How you said hi to someone and why you said hi like that, and there are so many people looking up to you and so many kids wanting to do what you're doing or be like you. The obsession we have also with men. I mean, Salman Khan has still asked when he's going to get married.
Exactly.
So it's not a woman issue. This came from your heart. I think when we walk into a room, the first thing that we are judged on is the way that we look. How I'm sitting with you when this camera is not rolling is very different to how I sit with you when the camera is rolling. But I have anxiety of meeting new people.
It's March 8th and I don't think I could have thought of anyone better to come and speak to. And I don't think I need many words to describe her. She's phenomenal. She's put India up on the global map. She's a symbol of determination, grit, power, grace, all of it. And I've had the privilege of covering her entire career throughout my journey. So I won't take much time to introduce Sania Mirza on International Women's Day. I don't think anyone better could have been here. Thank you for taking time out and speaking to Firstpost.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sania, first of all, I know I've sort of come in and intruded a bit upon your day. I'm sure it's a busy one and we don't see you so much here. How has it been? Because you're shuttling between too many things up and down. It's been busy.
It has been busy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I think I'll lose my mind if I'm not busy, to be very honest. It's how my life has been, and actually one of the thoughts when I had when I was retiring was like, oh my god, and so many people would ask me like, what are you going to do now? And I had no plan, and I was like, I actually don't know. And I thought to myself, maybe I'll put my feet up, maybe I'll just take it slow for a few months. And before I knew it, I was shooting 45 days in a row. First I was with doing something with the IPL last year. Like, it was straight after I went into the WPL, went into IPL, and then went into doing French Open, Roland Garros at that point. So I think things just happen, and I honestly feel like we manifest it in some way subconsciously. And for me, being busy is what I've really known. And I've not always loved it, but right now I do like it. I feel like it's always important to look for new things. When one chapter ends, it's always nice to find new things to do, and yeah.
All right. And if I have to ask you, looking back at all that's happened so far, did you ever for a moment imagine your journey, your life to sort of unravel the way that it has?
Not quite. I think that I think you have dreams, and we all have dreams. When we start a career, when we start doing something, we think of where we would like to go in that career, where we would like to end up, how we would like it to pan out. And there's a very few handful of people in this world who get to live their dream. And I feel very fortunate that I was, able to do that. I was able to not just dream and dare to dream, but also achieve, more than what I had probably imagined. And everything else obviously comes along with it, right? Like, so it's not, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to start this career. I want to do it so I can make a lot of money. Like, that cannot be the sole goal for anybody. You first start something because, and no matter what career that is, you start something because you love it and because you want to do it and you have a passion for it. And then there are byproducts that come with it if you become successful, So I feel like the reasons that I started for and the dreams that I had, I feel very fortunate to be able to have living them rather. And so the answer to your question is no, I didn't think so. I didn't think that it was going to pan out this way, but I'm so glad it did.
Yes, and we are so glad it happened because we got to witness something so magical. I think this is once in a lifetime sort of an event that you see something like you happening to the country, to this global sporting stage. How difficult is it being Sania Mirza? And I have to ask this, keeping everything in mind, how difficult has that journey been?
It's been very hard. I mean, there is no question about it, and I think that playing and succeeding or failing or whatever it is at what you do on a personal level is hard enough. When you put a public platform in it, you put media scrutiny in it, you put an everyday analysis of how you said hi to someone and why you said hi like that, and the image of you. There's so many things that go along with it, especially over the last 10-15 years since social media and electronic media has really boomed. Yeah, so I think that it is very hard. It's very hard to I became Sania Mirza when I was 16, and I'm 37 today. So I've lived more years as a known person rather than an unknown person to the world, So it was never easy growing up in front of people, and by people I mean in front of the public eye. It was never easy being a teenager. It was never easy because you always had to, as authentic as you try and be, there are certain things that you do have to camouflage and you do have to mask in a public eye, because at the end of the day, you are a role model for so many people and you're so aware of that fact, and people don't leave any opportunity to make you aware of that fact on a daily basis of how you have this responsibility on you, and rightfully so. I mean, when there are so many people looking up to you and so many kids wanting to do what you're doing or be like you, there are so many things that as a role model, so to say, that you need to be a certain way. And I think that that's where people maybe sometimes forget that we're also human, that we have a human side to us. We make our own mistakes, we have our own emotions, we have our good days, bad days, like anybody else. But because we come from a world where we are supposed to be perfect in so many ways, I like the fact that I was imperfect. I like the fact that I was able to show the human side of myself as much as possible. So it was very, very difficult. Having said that, though, I don't want to sound ungrateful, because the fact is that I chose that for myself. Maybe I didn't understand the magnitude that it was going to go up to, but I did choose a path that would lead me maybe to a life that I have today. So I can't sit there and say that it has only been difficult. This has also brought a lot of good to me, and it has also made me who I am. Not just, I think, not just as a tennis player or as a famous person or whatever. It's made me who I am as a human being as well. It's shaped who I am.
You say that you're happy that you are a little imperfect. Has the pressure got to you sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be lying if I say no. I mean, the greatest of athletes have come out and spoken about, or the greatest of people in terms of just by great, I mean the most known people in the world have come out and spoken about how much a public platform, I don't want to say messes up your head, but it does play around with your head.
Impact.
Yeah, it does impact you in not just always in a positive way. So I think that, people really think that, oh my God, they have everything. What is there to be sad about? Or what is there not to be happy about rather than sad? And I think that, money, fame, and success is not always the answer to always being content and happy, because it comes with a lot of baggage, especially if you're not inheriting it, in terms of if it's not just coming to you and you're building your way up there and then you're doing it in front of the public. It comes with a lot of baggage. And having said that, inheritance also comes with baggage, but that's a different kind of baggage, yeah. So I just feel that as a human being, it has impacted me more times than one. Yeah.
Would you say, Sania, that for a male athlete here in India compared to a female athlete, the scrutiny is far more for a woman athlete?
I don't think that has anything to do with India. I think that has to do with the world. I think that unless and until we change our thought process of how we view a female, as a world, I'm saying, and this has nothing to do, it may be more pronounced in some countries than the other, but that underlying patriarchy is always there. You know, that underlying sort of, yeah, he's a boy and he'll get away with it. Or he's a boy and it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. And that happens in any field. If I ask you the same question, I'm sure you'll tell me the same thing. So that is a universal problem. It's not really an India-based problem. But having said that, though, that I did bear the brunt of it, you know, in many ways. Now, I don't know whether that was because of me being a woman or what, but I think, or the time that I came up in, you know, it could also be as simple as that. But I do see other female athletes not having gone through that. So I don't know if that is particularly to do with just being a woman, but I do think that women in general are questioned a lot more and scrutinized a lot more, because I think when we walk into a room, the first thing that we are judged on is the way that we look. And I think until that changes, because first you're judged on how you look and then you're judged on how you actually, in my case, play, or in your case, what your, your credentials are, or what you worked, or how you worked. And I think that is a universal issue that has nothing to do with just my sport or a public figure. That happens in offices, that happens everywhere.
Is that why, as women, and I'm speaking from my perspective as well here, because this resonates with me too, is that why we develop another personality when it comes to public? And is that why you, because you're a public figure, is that why you sometimes think, okay, I need to be two people? Is that something that...
No, but I think as a public figure, anyway, you'll have to be two people, right? Like, I mean, we cannot... How I'm sitting with you when this camera is not rolling is very different to how I sit with you when the camera is rolling. And I think that is not to do with being a man or woman. That has to do with just being someone that you are. And because I feel that in my case, I mean, I shouldn't speak for other people, but I feel that in my case, because I became a public figure at such a young age, I almost... put a wall in front of me every time that I faced public over a period of time when I started to understand that, because I felt that I was being judged and questioned and blah, blah, blah on every single move that I was making or not making for that matter. And I felt like I really can't show the absolute true person that I am. Having said that, I have still tried to be as authentic as possible. You know, I'm not going to lie sitting here on camera and say that every single thing that I have shown to the world is who really I am. I mean, I can post a picture on Instagram and look absolutely fine and great, but I may have had a meltdown before that. But that is not something that I would love to show to the world, because I do realize in my head I'm thinking, do I really want to show that vulnerable side to myself? And there are moments that I do show that, but I don't feel that I can show that every single time, because that's also my personality. So that's why I'm saying everybody is different, but when you become a public figure, it is impossible to always be a certain way, because there are people who would love to take advantage of that. I mean, there are so many things that come with it, and just some people can just be a private person. They happen to become public, I can be a public figure of who I am, but I'm a fiercely private person. The people close to my heart, the people that are friends of mine, everybody that I know is over a period of minimum of 7 to 10 years or 20 years, my friends and everybody that's around me. Because that's who, I think those are the people that truly know who I am. It's not people that I meet at events, or it's not people, because I can't be that way. Also I feel that there are certain things as a public figure that you have to do that are not always very comfortable. I mean, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I have anxiety of meeting new people. Can you believe that? And the way my life turned out and panned out, till date, if I walk into a room where my name is going to be announced, and I go to an event and my name is going to be announced, and I know that everybody's going to turn around and look at me, it gives me anxiety. So I've never really spoken about this. So imagine from a person like that, like in school, I used to know the answers to every single question, but I never put my hand up because I didn't want people to turn and look at me.
Oh my God.
Because I had anxiety from it. I was like, oh my God, everybody's going to look at me. And I knew the right answer. So that's the person that I really am. And then my life turned out the way that I did, where I became this public speaker. And so I've actually had to train myself to become this person.
But how does it work when you get on a tennis court then? I mean, because everyone's watching you, your skills are being judged,
So at that moment, actually when I play tennis is when I'm the most fearless. And honestly, none of that mattered when I walked onto the tennis court. When I walked onto the tennis court, it didn't matter to me what people said, what people did, whether they watched or they didn't watch. For me, playing and trying to win and being the best version of myself out there trumped everything else. And that is the only time I didn't feel that anxious energy, where I would be like, oh my God, I'm going to walk on the court and people are going to look at me. I didn't care. But if you tell me to walk into a restaurant, till date, I swear to you, if I have to go to a restaurant that is in this part of the world where I know for a fact that I will get recognized, it gives me, I'm not saying it gives me anxiety where I won't enter the restaurant, but it gives me butterflies in my stomach where I'm like, oh my God, I have to enter this restaurant. It's almost like a thing that I fight with on a daily basis within my system.
So are you also embarrassed with compliments?
Yeah, very. I'm so bad. Anybody that knows me, when they start complimenting, I'm like, stop talking about me. I'm sitting right here. Don't talk about me. So that also comes from that, right? That's a personality trait also, because it's connected to this. So I don't like compliments at all.
If I had to ask you now to pick the moment in your life so far that has given you most satisfaction, that you've said, okay, this is the moment that I know that I nailed it, or this is what I lived for, what would that be?
I would like to say that the moment I became number one in the world, and it's a very hard choice to make because there were a lot of moments where I felt that, but I think that when you become number one in the world at what you do and what you've dreamt of all your life, I remember times when, there were a lot of kids in my school, we used to play tennis. There was 6 kids, I think, in my class alone, and we used to sit and talk, and I was always a little better than everybody else, when I was playing. And I remember sitting and having conversations and we were writing those, you used to get those notes that friends used to exchange with these friendship books. I don't know what they're even called.
Books.
Yeah, slam books. And you used to write, what's your dream? And you're like, I want to be number one in the world at tennis. And all 6 girls used to write that, and I used to write that too. And that's really a memory that flashed by me when that happened. So it is literally a dream that comes true for very, very few people, to being number one at what they do at anything, any career that they choose. So yeah, I would say that moment probably.
Nice. And where you are right now, I keep thinking all that you achieved, and I ask myself, can we have another Sania Mirza? And I don't know the answer to that. Do you have the answer to that? Can there be another Sania Mirza?
I don't have the answer to that, unfortunately, and I wish I had the answer to that, because I've been answering this question for the last 15 years at least. And unfortunately, I've been coming up with the same answer that, I don't know. I hope it's the next girls in line, and then, another generation goes by, and then another generation goes by. And I've seen 3 generations go by in my playing career of the last 21 years, where people have come and gone and retired, and, I kept playing. It's a little bit like Rohan now, right? I don't know. And I do hope, though, that I do hope that we can come up with a better answer to this, because I feel that for a girl today to achieve what I have achieved, I don't think that we can look at girls who are 25, 27, 28 today, because it's not going to happen. Realistically, that's just, they've passed their prime, right? But the fact is that do we have kids who are 8, 10 years old today who are going to maybe make it? We're going to have to wait and watch, and we're going to have to do whatever it takes to try and help them in whatever our capacity is.
If I ask you about, I'm asking you about the future here, I have to also, recently I think I saw one of your tweets where there was this ad that came up, and you said, this is what I've been wanting to talk about. Why is it that people always ask women to settle, and why is it those are the questions that keep asking? I remember this because I know this is very close to your heart as well. If you could just speak about that, what that meant to you when you saw that advert, and what you were trying to say, because I know that's a message a lot of women would love to hear from you.
Rights and wrongs and do's and don'ts for women are a lot more than they are for men. And no matter what a woman is achieving in their career or whatever path they've chosen, I feel that in society they are truly considered as settled and really good to go only when they have that normalcy of society of being married and having kids. And there are many women who get married and don't want to have kids. There are many women that don't want to get married. Does that make them less settled? And if yes, then does the same thing happen for the man? Like, does that make him less settled if he's choosing the same thing? So these are questions that are so they're very basic, for you and I, but they're not as basic for the normal sort of society, because that's a society that we live in, and it's so deeply engraved in us that women are. These are certain things women are supposed to do in order for them to be like, settled. Then I feel that if women like me, who are in this position where a few people are listening to us, or even like we have the platform to talk, regardless of whether somebody is listening or not, I feel like if we are also not speaking, then we have no chance. So I feel that a lot of young girls and women can resonate with that when they see something that is so thought-provoking, because of the very fact that we go through it on a daily basis. We question, as soon as you're turning 24, 25, like, when you're going to get married, and then you're like, no, not yet. And they're like, oh, but like, all the good guys are going to go away, as if like that is the only achievement that there is in life. Like, what is a good guy? Like, I mean, what does that even mean, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, but this marriage, like, obsession we have also with men. I mean, Salman Khan has still asked when he's going to get married.
Exactly.
So it's not a woman issue, I don't think. This marriage thing is also like to do with...
If they see someone single, they want that person to be attached.
They just want them to be married and with somebody. But then as women, it's more multiplied, and then you're like, okay, then what? Like, the minute you get married, they're like, so when you're going to have a kid? So they're not even taking into consideration that it could be a choice that you're not trying to have a kid.
Yeah.
Like, that is a choice that maybe you don't want to have a kid right now. You want to have a kid after some time. And what? So what?
And if the answer is no, kid yet, oh, I'm sorry. As if that's like a...
This came from your heart, looks like. So I just feel that, a lot of women today can resonate, and they don't actually, for me, the issue is not about being successful or working or whatever. For me, that's not the issue. For me, the issue is choice. So you can sit at home and be a homemaker and choose not to have a child, and that's okay, or choose not to be married. Like, what is the problem in that? Like, why is it that choice is questioned so much? And why is it that no matter what you're doing in life, you're always, asked that when are you going to settle? Like, what does it mean? So settle down basically means that you're going to stop what you're doing, get married, and then live your life, based around another person. Yeah. That's what settle down. What else does it mean? In true terms, that's the meaning of settling down.
Yeah. You mentioned your son, you mentioned Izan. I've been wanting to ask you, how has it been? How has motherhood been? Because we've seen that grow from far. Does he miss you every time you go away?
I don't think so, actually, to be very honest with you, because I tell him to talk on the phone and he's like, oh, like, can I talk to you later? But I think kids in general, are not really a phone-friendly sort of species. Like, I don't think they really understand, it's not registering.
You're a blessed kid then. Yeah. Because a lot of kids love screen space. So.
No, I keep him very busy. So he gets like half an hour of his screen time a day, and that's the end of that. But mother has been great. Like, I think that it's evolved me in many ways. I think that as athletes, we are pretty selfish as human beings, because that's the nature of our job. And if we are not selfish, I mean, there's no other career in the world or work in the world where you wake up and you're like, I want to be better, and I'm going to be better, and I'm the best, and like, I'm going to be the best. Like, it's a really egoistic profession, where you have to consciously make the effort of telling yourself that you're the best, and everything revolves around you. your food, what do you want to eat, when do you want to warm up, when do you want to practice, and then all of a sudden you have a child and nothing revolves around you anymore. And it gives you a huge and really needed reality check of life. And I think that if you're able to make that adjustment, you'll have a great relationship with your child. And for me, it came very naturally to put him first. And it came very naturally to keep putting him first in all situations, So for me, I know for a fact that I will never take a step in my life where I don't think that he will not benefit out of, or if something is going to bother or hurt him, like I will try not to take that step. Having said that, though, like I think self-love is very important as well, and I think that's where I keep saying this to women, that giving birth and having a child is not the end of your life. It's the beginning of another life, and that does not mean that you just basically neglect yourself completely. So motherhood has evolved me in these ways. I think it's made me realize that, you can love another human being more than you love yourself sometimes, and I think that's a feeling that if you get to experience it, it's great.
Nice. And if I had to ask you, I know what you're saying, whatever motherhood has taught you. If you had to make sure, okay, this is the one thing that you want Izhan to imbibe, this is the one thing that you would tell him, or you want him to be years down the line, what would that one thing be?
I think that one of the very important things for me is that to know that as a man, you are allowed to show and feel what you are actually feeling within your heart and not be labeled as weak. And I think that that's something that it's very important to me, because I think that over my life, in different experiences of my life, I've reached a stage where it's very important for me to be able to be honest with my emotions and with myself. And I think that as a boy, they are always told that they shouldn't be. They're always told that your strength lies in you not showing that emotion, especially in this part of the world, where they say, if a man should keep it together, he must not cry, or a man should keep it together, he must not lose it. But I feel that if you're actually able to, and I do tell him this, he's very young, so I tell him in age appropriate ways, but I think that is something that I will be very proud of, where he can have that empathy and emotion, because if you don't feel that empathy and emotion within yourself, you cannot feel it for another person. So you have to first have empathy towards yourself also. And I feel that, and the second most important thing is, that equality is something that is very important. So, he finishes his food, he has to take his plate and put it in the kitchen. It does not matter if we have staff at home. Basic things like that, which may sound which may sound like first world problems to some people, but these are real issues, and there are certain things, there are certain comments that sometimes happen, and sometimes he'll come and say that, no, I was playing football, she was not playing because she's a girl, and that is because what he's hearing around, and those things are very important for us to change. But having said that, I think that we are making progress, because there was this one time that he was playing something, and one of my cousin came and said, can I play? And then the person he was playing with said, no, you can't play, you're a girl, in a joke. They were playing at home, and and Izhan said, and this was like a year and a half ago, and Izhan said, yeah, but my mom was a world champion, like everybody can play. So the thing is, like, it's obviously, I think sometimes we feel, oh my God, they're so young, we can't tell them these things, but they're not, because their subconscious mind is working, and we need to imbibe this in them in order for him to become the man that he will be.
Wow, and he's watching you, and he's watching and learning, so that's how he is, and he gets very excited that sometimes when there's something coming on TV when I'm playing, and then like, he's a huge football fan, so he's like a Ronaldo fan, and the other day we were sitting and watching, there was a match going on, and then he was like, he will not sit for more than 2 minutes unless there's a football match going on. And he sat there for 90 minutes or whatever, 100 minutes. Wow. Because of everything. And he sat there, and he didn't go to school the next day because it was late. It was at 8 p.m. And my sister, and he said to my sister, he said, Ansiku, Ronaldo's the GOAT, he said.
And so my sister said, you know, your mom was the GOAT. He said, yeah, but she was a GOAT at tennis. He's a GOAT at football. So he's very aware that things like that do happen. And I feel that that is something that he'll carry forward with him in his life forward, with, you know, the woman that he meets, and knowing that, you know, every person is equal.
A couple of questions and we'll wrap it up. One, this fighting spirit that you have, where does that come from? I mean, we see it on the court, off the court. Where have you imbibed that from?
I think a lot has to do with the way I've been brought up by my parents. I think that I think it comes from a lot of confidence and knowing that no matter what happens, they'd be by my side. And I think that a lot of that fighting spirit comes from that, because you feel like, you know, they've got my back, somebody's got my back. And whether it's my parents or my sister, I know for a fact that, you know, in good or bad, they've got my back. And that's the way we've been raised, because we were a very small family. So I think that's where it comes from. And honestly, it comes from within. I think it comes from, and I think a lot of it comes from playing sport. I think sport teaches you how to fight. Sport teaches you how to be resilient. Sport teaches you to have dignity in failing, and sport teaches you to have, you know, being humble in victory. So I think that is a lot of life lessons that I've learned from the sport that I chose to play. And that is why sport is such an important part of my life, and I make sure it is a part of, you know, anyone that's close to me with kids and stuff, because it really gives you these life lessons that no education can give you. You can read 1,000 books, but there is no book that will teach you this, because it will not teach you how to fight the next day after you lose a tough match. It will not teach you that, you know, if you win a Grand Slam and then you go and lose first round in the next tournament, you're only as good as your last match. So all this stuff is to do with sport and sporting life lessons.
And lastly, of course, you know, everyone gets a piece of you, everyone wants a piece of you. And when you're speaking, Sania, obviously you're speaking to a lot of women as well, a lot of young women out there. If you could, what's your one message? Because you've lived, and there's much more life ahead of you, and you've lived such a colorful and a tough life. What's your message to everyone out there who's watching?
I think that we all have our own journeys, and I think that I would just like to say that first and foremost, we have to embrace the fact that that's our own journey. And I feel that we can try to protect ourselves from, you know, the bad that may happen or may not happen, but life will pan out how it's going to pan out. And I think that accepting that is very, very important, because with the bad comes a lot of good as well. So I think that as a woman, really, I think the most important thing is to know your worth, because I think that if you, we talk so much about women empowerment, but we don't talk so much about how much women truly believe that they should be empowered, because they really, first of all, need to feel it within that they are equal. They need to feel it within that they should be treated with dignity. They need to feel it within that they need to be treated as a person with as much respect as, you know, anybody else in their life. And I would like to tell women that you need to know your worth, because if you don't know your worth, nobody else will.
Thank you so much, Sania. It's always a pleasure. It's always nice speaking to you every time. And looking forward to seeing you again.
Soon.
Yes, very soon.